Queen Letizia's Secret Tears at Leonor's Wedding. Royal Documentary Script, Part 2 of 2. That night, the palace slowly emptied of guests. The glittering chandeliers dimmed, the laughter faded into the marble corridors, and the sound of footsteps dissolved into quiet history. Outside, the city of Madrid still celebrated, fireworks burst over the Manzanares, and the cheers of thousands drifted through the windows like echoes of joy. Inside the queen's private study, all was still. The air smelled faintly of roses and candle wax. A single lamp glowed on her desk, casting a circle of soft light over an envelope sealed with the royal crest. Queen Letizia sat there, motionless. Her gown had been replaced with a simple silk robe, her tiara locked away. For the first time in days, she was alone, no cameras, no advisors, no courtiers. Only the quiet hum of the palace clock. On the desk lay a photograph, Leonor at 6 years old, wearing her school uniform, her smile wide and imperfect. Letizia traced the edge of the photo with her fingertip. Then she opened a drawer and pulled out a small notebook, one she had kept hidden for years. Its first page read simply, "For Leonor. To read when you are ready." She picked up her pen and began to write. "My dearest Leonor. Tonight the palace is silent, but my heart is louder than ever. The world saw your wedding, they saw the princess, the future queen. But I saw my daughter, the little girl who once fell asleep on my chest while I read her fairy tales. I cried today, not because I lost you, but because I saw you become everything I hoped you'd be. I remember the day you were born, the first cry that filled the hospital room. The king wept openly that day. I didn't. I was too busy memorizing the sound of your breathing. Even then, I knew the world would never fully belong to us again. Being queen has taught me that love and duty rarely walk the same path. But today, they did, through you. If one day the crown feels heavy, remember this, it is not a burden, but a bridge, between what we dream and what we owe to others. And when you feel alone, as I have, many times, remember that your mother once cried for you, not from sorrow, but from pride so deep it became pain. Con amor eterno. Mama." She sealed the letter carefully, placed it inside a velvet box, and locked it away in the same drawer where she kept her own wedding vows. It would wait there until Leonor's coronation day. Letizia rose and walked to the window. The night sky glowed above Madrid, golden and restless. Somewhere out there, her daughter was laughing, perhaps dancing, surrounded by her new life. Letizia smiled faintly. "Be happy, my love," she whispered. "Be free." Behind her, Felipe entered quietly. He was still wearing his uniform, though the medals had lost their sheen under the soft lamplight. "Still awake?" he asked gently. She turned. "Could you sleep, after a day like this?" He approached and placed a hand on her shoulder. "No," he admitted. "It was perfect, Letizia. You made it perfect." She looked at him, eyes tired but luminous. "Do you think the world knows how much it costs?" He sighed. "They never do." For a moment they stood together, looking out over the silent gardens, two monarchs, two parents, bound by love and sacrifice. Down below, the guards changed shifts. The sound of boots on stone echoed faintly, the rhythm of monarchy continuing, as it always had. Then Letizia said softly, "Do you remember when they first called me commoner?" Felipe smiled. Every headline, every doubt, every sneer. "And yet," she murmured, "our daughter just made history, the first future queen born of an ordinary mother." He turned to her. "That's why you cried." Letizia's voice trembled. "Yes. Because Spain saw her as a princess. But I saw her as proof that love changed the crown itself." Felipe said nothing more. He simply pulled her close, and for a moment, the queen allowed herself to rest her head against his chest. The rhythm of his heartbeat was steady, grounding, human. Later that night, when she finally lay in bed, sleep did not come easily. Memories played like fragments of a film. Leonor taking her first steps in the Zarzuela Palace garden, the day she recited her first speech before Parliament at 13, the moment she swore allegiance to the Constitution, the tremor in her voice as she said, "Sí, quiero." Each memory was a stitch in the tapestry of a mother's love, invisible, yet unbreakable. Dawn came gently. The palace woke again, servants moving quietly, sunlight creeping through lace curtains. Letizia rose, wrapped a shawl around her shoulders, and walked out onto the balcony. The courtyard below was littered with petals from the previous day's celebration. She watched them swirl in the breeze, scattered and free, a symbol of everything she'd learned to let go. Then she heard footsteps behind her. It was Leonor. "Mama," she said softly. Letizia turned in surprise. Her daughter was still in her silk dressing gown, her hair loose, her face glowing with the calm that only youth and love can bring. "I couldn't sleep," Leonor said. "I wanted to see you." Letizia smiled. "I thought you'd be resting. You have a long journey ahead." Leonor nodded. "I will. But first, I needed to tell you something." She stepped closer, her eyes shining with sincerity. "When I stood at the altar yesterday, I looked at you. And for a moment, I thought you were crying. But then I told myself, no, she's too strong for that." Letizia's heart caught. "And if I was?" Leonor smiled. "Then I would say thank you. Because I know every tear you've ever shed has built the woman I am." For once, Letizia couldn't find words. She simply reached out and held her daughter. They stayed like that for a long time, the queen and the princess, the past and the future, mother and child. When they finally pulled apart, Leonor whispered, "I'll make you proud." "You already have," Letizia answered. A breeze passed through, lifting the curtains behind them. The light bathed them both in gold. And in that glow, the queen's tears returned, but this time, she did not hide them. That morning, when the world saw the new royal couple depart for their honeymoon, they also saw a mother standing at the palace gate, waving with a calm smile. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions, and Spain cheered once again. But long after the cars disappeared down the royal avenue, Letizia remained where she was, her hand still raised. Only when the sound of engines faded completely did she whisper to herself, "Go, my love. The world is yours now." She turned back toward the palace, toward her duties, her crown, her people. Yet as she walked through the empty corridor, she realized something profound. The monarchy's strength was not in its jewels or its power, but in its humanity, in the tears that no one sees. Later that day, while reviewing the morning newspapers, Letizia noticed something. Beneath all the headlines, a royal love story for the ages, Spain's future secured, Princess Leonor's fairy tale wedding, there was one small photo that caught her eye. It showed her on the balcony, standing slightly behind the king, sunlight falling across her face. The caption read, "The mother behind the monarch." She smiled. That evening, as the sun sank over Madrid, Queen Letizia walked once more into her study. She opened the drawer, glanced at the velvet box, and whispered, "Not yet." Then she closed it again. The letter would wait, a secret. Testament to a mother's love, locked away until the day her daughter would wear the crown. And when that day came, years later, when Leonor would kneel before the same archbishop, accepting the scepter of Spain, the letter would be found and read in private. In it, she would read of the tears her mother shed on her wedding day, not out of loss, but of triumph, proof that even queens bleed quietly for the sake of love. As for Letizia, her story continued, quieter, wiser, and forever changed. Because history would remember the grandeur of the wedding, the jewels, the vows, the future queen. But those who truly knew would remember something far more fragile and eternal.